Welcome everyone. Welcome to Peace Within the Journey of Forgiveness. I have Pastor Carlos. Hey, Pastor.
Thank you. Thank you. Peace. Shalom, everyone.
So how's
Yeah.
you doing?
Oh, I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. I'm glad to be here, man. It took a long time to get here with you, man, but I'm so glad that we finally got an opportunity to get this done.
Thank you. Thank you for accepting the invitation. So let's jump right into it. I have one question. As a man of God, help us understand your journey of forgiveness.
Wow. Um, my journey was a long one. I've not always been considered a man of God. A lot of times that would be the last description this person would give for me. But I would say that my journey to forgiveness started with self. I had to learn to forgive myself, because God forgiven me for my sins, but I still had a lot of hurt from my own past trauma to my own self, because we take for granted a lot of times when we do things to other people, it's so hurtful to our own spirit as well.
Yeah, so would you like to elaborate on what you was holding on to?
Yes, yes. That was a great question, a nice way to lead to it. Um, my journey started with I'm going to say my decision making as a teenager. I first started rebelling against what I was told as a youngster. You was always taught. I was raised right. I ain't even gonna lie. I can't blame my choices and decisions on parenting because even though I had a single mother at home, my mom worked hard. She told me right from wrong, and she was there for me. So it wasn't that I didn't have a voice or someone to hear me out whenever I was going through things. I just thought that I knew better than my mom. And I think that's the case of a lot of brothers and sisters, especially when you're dealing with, especially me. I was a young man being raised by a woman, and so a lot of times the advice that my mom was giving me, I wasn't really trying to accept. I thought, man, she don't know. She's a woman. How's she going to tell me how to live and maintain out here in these rough streets? But it's not even about toughness. I realized. I learned that most of the times, what we perceive and think that we have to do in order to survive is what we put ourselves up to. We hype ourselves up to do things and to get things done in the way that we think that we got to get it done. But in all reality, it's not even worth the effort. So it started there. I started to do things that I consciously knew was wrong, you know? And when you start to rack them up, it starts to get easier and easier and easier to go against what you know is right. I started selling drugs. I started, excuse my language, but tricking, like, prostituting. I started, going to the clubs doing me, but I started getting violent um, and using violence as a way to get money, meaning I was robbing people, I was taking from people, conning people, and all of these things, the things that I was taught not to do, you know? So at that moment, I began to feel that with all of the stuff that I'd done, who could love me? And if a person told me that they loved me, I thought they were lying. So most of my relationships became toxic, meaning I thought that the people that was around me were liars. I thought that the people around me couldn't be trusted. Why? Because I was a liar and couldn't be trusted. So I perceived or I projected on other people what me personally, what I was feeling on my own. So therefore I could not even possibly have any healthy relationships or move forward with anything until I learned to forgive myself for what I've done, you know? So that's where it began. Um, I think that to take it a step further, I didn't heal from the trauma that I caused to myself, until I seen the consequences of my actions. Not saying that I've never been punished for nothing. I spent over 20 years in prison, and
Mhm.
this is not nothing to brag about. at all. I regret every day that I had to spend away from my family, and it was based on the choices that I made. I was a violent person, so violent criminals, we tend to take long hiatuses in jail. You know, they don't just put us away for little small time. You know, and in that time away, I didn't learn my lesson the first couple times. I didn't. I'm gonna be honest. I went back and forth, and I was thinking that I was done wrong. Like I felt like the people who I was dealing with, they would give up information to the authorities, and then I got cheated. That's how I used to feel. You know, I never took responsibility for my own actions. I used to always think that if I did have some type of negative consequence, it was because someone else couldn't hold water, you know? Uh, and that was wrong. It was because I was never going to be able to change for the better. And so I really had to take a long look at myself and see the wrong that I've done, but also see myself as being able to do something different, you know? Um, the last consequence that I had was 2014. I was charged with a homicide and I was in prison fighting for the rest of my life. It was one of the worst times in my life. Um, I really never saw myself as a person that deserved um, total abandonment. You know, I thought that at least somebody would love me. You know, no matter what I did enough good for somebody to kind of love me. But in that situation, I found myself alone by myself. And that was the first time that I really found myself by myself and felt that I was justified in being there because really, who in their right mind wouldn't be tired of me? I was tired of me, you know? So at that point, I started looking at myself in the mirror and said, look, you got to either change what you're doing or you're going to find yourself exactly like this for the rest of your existence. And that was the message that I got from God, you know, because I went to God and asked him to save me in that situation. You know, I said, Lord, get me out of this. I know I'm wrong. I know I don't deserve your grace. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't deserve anything. But I was told that I don't need to deserve it for you to give it to me. And so I made a covenant then and there with the Lord. I said, man, look, if you take me out of this situation, I'm yours. You know, I won't live for myself anymore. I won't be greedy or selfish. I will live for you, man. Just give me another chance, you know? And by the grace of God, man, it's only his grace. I was acquitted in trial and watching the occurrences and all of these so-called accusers coming in and talking all of this stuff, and they could not, no, none of their words could stand against me. And that's all my father, because I know the truth. I know that I am not perfect. I know that I made mistakes. So I know that they were justifying some of the things they were saying. But in that same sense, I was forgiven by God, meaning that nothing that they said can stand. No weapon that was formed against me at that time and in that trial could prosper against me. And no word that was spoken against me, it was all brought to naught. All of it was brought to nothing. And so at that moment, I said, Lord, is this what it looks like to be forgiven? So then I started looking at all the people in my past, man, that I've hurt. I looked at all of the trauma that I've caused to people directly or indirectly, because a lot of times, man, we don't even realize that people are watching us, you know? And see, we don't take responsibility for this, but I was involved in gangs. I was involved in a lot of different things. And I had a lot of people under me, imitating me, emulating my every move. And a lot of times, man, you know, when they seen me getting down, they would follow suit and start doing the same thing. So they were making victims just like I was. So everybody that I had around me, I was teaching them how to be, you know, oppressors to their own communities, oppressors to their own families, to be terrorists in their own community, you know, in their own households, you know. And I didn't consciously on purposely do it, but then when I took my hands off of it, I seen the actions of the people that was with me, and I said, man, y'all wrong. Why are they wrong for doing the same thing that I was doing? I'm going to tell you, because God forgave me. And when I started looking at what I've done, I started saying, I don't want to repeat this same stuff. But the people that I was with was constantly, continuously doing it. They didn't have the same understanding that I had. They didn't get that awakening. They didn't have their life on the line, and they didn't have a situation where they had to pray for forgiveness and pray for a miracle in order for them to even just continue living. I did. And so at that moment, that's when I changed. And it didn't happen overnight though. And this is the blessing of God. See, I asked him for a blessing, and he said, okay, well, show me that you deserve it. So when I was waiting on trial, when I was going through all of this, I had to keep my head down. I couldn't put my chest out. I couldn't be seeming like I'm tough. I couldn't be the old me. Why? Because I was asking somebody for something. And when you're in a position to ask for something, you can't be showing no pride or no aggressive or none of that, because no arrogance, because God don't want that. God don't like that, because, people say God don't like ugly, but he ain't too fond of cute either. So all these people thinking they gonna be cute before God. No, I'm trying to tell you, when you want something from our Father, he only responds to the righteous. Mm. So in order to be forgiven, I had to first forgive myself. See, because for real, if I thought that I wasn't righteous, then I couldn't go before God and ask him with a clear conscience, clean hands, and a pure heart. So that was what I needed to do in order to receive. And so that's how I learned the power of forgiveness. Is that making sense?
No, it's making sense because one of my questions, I'm just being in awe right now because one of my questions was, when did you understand the power of forgiveness? And as I listening to your testimony, I'm like, I'm seeing from your words that he understood the power of forgiveness. And when you explain about your trial, I was like, wow, that was one of the powers of forgiveness. So no, we on the same page. You jumped to my question. I wasn't even able to ask you the question. Go
Well, I'm
ahead,
so
come on.
glad.
So
Yes.
to hear your story. Go ahead. I'm listening, and the viewers as well.
Oh man, I'm so glad, man. But when you asked that question about like the power of forgiveness, how did I recognize, or what? Can you rephrase that one, because I like that, which how you said it. I want to actually answer it directly.
It says, when did you understand the power of forgiveness?
Mm, 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 mm. March 18th, 2016.
Okay.
I was acquitted that day. And oh God. See, because I had 12 jurors. I didn't know what was on them people's mind. You know what I'm saying? And so, so in my heart, I was asking God to forgive me. I was asking him to make me right. But I knew that if those people saw me as guilty, then I wasn't going anywhere. But see, my Father in heaven, he forgave me before these people even saw me. So the person that was before them wasn't the person that was on the streets doing all that dirt. The person that was before them wasn't the person that all those years doing all of that lying. The person before them wasn't all those people, with all this line of victims in his path. The person that was before them was blameless. And when they said not guilty, I knew that God's power of forgiveness was eternal. It was perfect. See, because when God forgives you, that means there's no more past. When God forgives you, there's no more trauma. When God forgives you, there's no more hurt. But see, I didn't understand that until I received it. See, because those 12 people voted for me. They voted for me to be right here in this living world talking to you on YouTube instead of being behind a cell for the rest of my existence, because that was the alternative.
Mm.
But they saw me as innocent.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
I had a call coming in. I had to hang up on it.
Okay.
Is it better now?
Yeah. So
The
what you
power
said?
of forgiveness.
Okay.
Yes, the power of forgiveness. It came uh, face to face. I came face to face with it in that situation on that day. And from that day on, I knew that it wasn't just for me to receive forgiveness, but to give forgiveness as well. Because in the scriptures it says, if you refuse to forgive your brother, then God will refuse to forgive you.
Yep.
So I knew before I went in there that I couldn't have any no grudges towards nobody when I'm expecting something. And so when I moved from that point on, it was like, all right, so ain't nobody did me no wrong, and I ain't did no wrong to nobody else. I'm not going to carry any more offenses from this point because why? It's too heavy. God already said, unburden yourself, and I did. And that's the power. And I know how real it is because since then I haven't had any quarrel with anybody, any beef, and my life has been a lot more pleasant. You know.
What what advice would you give people who's in prison or heading in that direction, or just like you said, consciously making the wrong decision? What advice would you give them so they can um, change their life around and start seeking and seeing the glory of God?
That's deep. That is so deep. Anybody, man, anybody who is seeking, to move forward in life, just understand this. If you have something in your hand, then you can't receive anything. You have to first let go what's in your hand in order for you to get something. So if you're looking to gain anything out of this life, we have to let go of what we're holding on to. Let go and let God fill you up. And trust me, what you are letting go is way less valuable than what you can receive. But that's if that's a word, I hope they can take that and receive it because that's what I had to do. I had to stop balling my fist up and stop clinging on to things that I thought would give my life meaning. Because sometimes when you ain't got nothing but pain, that's all you know. And it's like, if I let this go, then what am I going to do? But trust in the Lord, man.
So I'm gonna just play around with your words. How, people say trust in the Lord, and that's easy said than done. Give us some examples how someone can fully let their self go and truly focus on trusting God, allowing their self to not trust them, but trust God in their walk on this earth.
That's great. That is great. Yo, man, you are very good at what you do, sis. Because really, honestly, the trust part, it's gradual. See, we think that we have to have it all in one swoop, but that's not true. See, trust the Lord in little things in your life at first. Let's don't try to get it overnight. You know, because most of the time, if we do look at a situation that we see so overwhelming, we don't even want anybody to touch it, even God. We say, oh no, this thing right here is just it's too critical, it's too dramatic. I can't really let nobody close to it because it might fall and crumble. So if you don't want to trust God with the major things in your life right now, ask him to help you find your keys. Ask them to just be with you when you have an interview somewhere. Ask them to do, and then the more you start to trust him for small things, the more we start to depend on him after a while. Because it's like, I'm not gonna go in here until I talk to God. I ain't gonna eat this food until I bless it. I ain't gonna do this because I trust the Lord is gonna make sure that this food ain't poison. I'm gonna make sure that this person ain't gonna get out of pocket with me because I know myself and I know I can't really deal with that right now. But see, the Lord will make sure that everything that we request in faith, he will give it to us. And then we'll get that track record. And eventually we'll start trusting him with the major stuff in our lives. You know? But it is a lot easier said than done.
Yeah. For what is easier to said than done for someone who's starting out.
Uh-huh.
When you're starting out, because it's unfamiliar in your heart, you're learning this, you building a relationship with God. But
Yes.
once you found your foundation with your relationship with God, you just say it's not me anymore, it's you, God. And I lost train of thought, but it's so funny because you're That's what it was. Thank you, Holy Spirit. So this is what I wanted to ask you because we are new creatures in Christ and we're walking this relationship. But people who really don't know the new us only see the old us.
Hmm.
How was it for you to transition to say, yo, I'm not that liar, that person who sold my body, that person who robbed and steal? How did you orchestrate that in your life when you start building your relationship with God?
You know, I had to change my environment. You
Mm,
know, I ain't gonna lie. I really had a grudge towards. We used to call them civilians, people that wasn't in the streets.
oh,
When I was in the streets, I was heavy in the streets. So it's like the people that's vanilla or ain't never did nothing, been nowhere. I used to didn't like their company because I used to think that they were squares. Like their conversation really wasn't enticing to me. So to be honest, I had to learn to forgive. That part of my mentality as well because I had to learn to stop prejudging people. You
mm,
know, in order to fit in the crowd with someone, you can't just go there and think that you're going to bring the personality there. You're going to bring all the excitement there. A lot of times, that approach is going to make it not fun, not exciting, not entertaining. You know, and so. Hey, and so what ended up happening, for me, I started going into different environments, and in those environments, I couldn't talk like I used to talk. And at first, I didn't mind. I mean, I did at first because it was like, I can't really talk like. But then after a while, it was like, I mean, I don't even remember when I stopped talking that way. You know, and the dress. I never dressed like too flamboyant or nothing like that because I ain't never been like that outgoing. I just always been conservative with it. But as far as like the way that I supported myself, though, that was a major uh, hurdle for me, because I always loved to have money. I always loved to have what I needed to take care of myself and to take care of my family. And so I used to think that certain ways of making money was acceptable, things that were not illegal but unethical. Things that were different practices that were just not right. And I started looking at everything that I was doing for how it's affecting people as opposed to how it affect me, how it can benefit me. I started looking at all the people I dealt with, and that really changed too, because it was like I don't want to offend anyone. You
yeah.
know.
I can relate because I don't know if you know my story. Like I'm similar to you, but not that hard. But I was the one who would go, work at the strip clubs and work outside the strip clubs. And that was survival for me because that's all I knew. I knew how to make
Yes.
money, make money, make money, make money. And when I transitioned, one day I left church and I'll say the devil know how to do something, but I'm glad that I trusted God because once you leave that type of lifestyle, you don't have that money no more. And at that time, I only had a high school diploma, but now I have a bachelor's and a master's. So
Mm.
this is how God moves once you say, I fully give my life to you. So when I stopped dancing, I only had a high school diploma, so I only could get high school diploma type of jobs, and they was decent jobs, but I had to work two jobs and still wasn't able to pay my bills. But
Mm.
I would go to church, and one day I got a phone call, and it was exactly, come get this money. I was quick at the time. This is how old I got T-Mobile now, but this is how old long ago it was. I quickly picked up that phone and called and changed my number. I said, I need to change my number, please. And I needed ASAP. And I changed my number because I didn't want to revert back because my conviction was God, I don't care. I'm giving my life to Christ. I don't care. Because when I, was dancing, I bought a home. I couldn't even afford
Yes.
that. And I was like, Lord, I don't even care. Thank God I was never homeless. But that's where my heart was at. I was like, I don't even care that I be homeless. I'm not doing that more. That I'm not doing that anymore. I'm focusing on you. And, still wasn't able to pay my bills, but I've been in my house ever since I gave my life to Christ. No, what is it called? Foreclosure, no nothing. So just transitioning and working on yourself and forgiving yourself and forgiving others and your surroundings is a part of the relationship with God.
Yes,
People have to understand that's what brings us closer because, like you said, God said, if you can't forgive them, how can I forgive you? You know.
yes, yes.
So knowing that you have grown, how 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 can you give us some examples of the walk when you change your environment and how to speak differently when you're now in a new environment?
You know, what we were discussing as far as finding different ways legally to support ourselves is really what actually helped me to I'm gonna say train myself to be a different person speaking and dealing, because you know when you used to making impressions on people, certain impressions, you gotta present yourself away. And when I was in the streets, you know, you gotta present yourself. You know, you gotta have your swag. You gotta, you know, make sure you're right. I understood that concept when I was out in the world, and that helped me transition to the legal world, because then I started looking at the people who were doing the things that I was doing and said, well, look, that ain't hard to do.
Hold on, pause for the cause. You said the legal. You became a up. What is it called? A abiding citizen. You became a tax
Yes, yes, yes. And really, I had to play the part. I had to walk the talk, talk the talk. You know, I had to be who I say I was. You know, and that's one of the main things. Reconciling. That's if I had to leave somebody with something, I had to come to terms with who I am. You know, um, because really, man, we would lose ourselves out there. You know, like you were saying, you were involved in things that really, you know, in your heart, it wasn't you. It was just you was trying to get the bag. You was trying to take care of yourself. It was all about survival. But then when you realize that you don't have to die to live, or you don't have to risk everything just for something material, then we change. And that's what happened with me as well. Changing, it helped me keep it real with the new me. See, because I ain't never been fake, you know? So if, you know what I'm saying? So if it's like, if I was real in the streets, I was real to my character. I was real to who I was. I wasn't going to deviate from that. You wouldn't find me going against the code. Same thing here. Now I'm legit. I'm a businessman. So now I have to talk the talk. I got to dress the code. I got to walk the walk. It's because God has given me the ability to change forms. He said, any man that be in Christ is a new creature. All old things are passed away, and behold, all things become new. So now I was looking for this new life. And so now when I started looking for different examples on who I wanted to be, I said, I could be anything I want to be. Like you said, I had a GED. You know, so it was like, man, what am I going to do with a GED in this world and compete with all of these people getting to this money legally? You know, but then I realized, man, that my story is what I needed to capitalize on, because there's a lot of people that been where I've been and done what I've done, but they don't know how to get where I'm going. So I started a company called Right Way to Do It. You know, it's a nonprofit. I do community outreach work. I help people with substance abuse treatment. I get them referred to inpatient and outpatient. I help people come and transition from prison to back in the streets, you know, and find employment. I help them with transportation. I help people do a lot of things that I know that I needed help in those junctures. And so basically, God allowed me to drag myself up and pull myself up so then I can learn how to do it to show everybody else how to do it. And that's my business. Ain't God good?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad that you spoke about those resources because I personally believe in God and therapy. I think those are the best
Yes.
impact things in people's lives. And I would like your opinion on it because some people who go to church, they don't believe that they should go or, visit someone to talk to. It's just, I pray my miracle. But sometimes if you go to therapy, they can teach you and help you understand what is this, trauma or these triggers that you are having.
Yes, that's so important. I deal with that a lot because, in our community is a stigma on mental health and therapy. People think that you got to be crazy or something wrong with you to get therapy or even to find out what mental health is or how to be healthy mentally, you know. But to be honest, in our communities, and this is what I got to say to this, and I say this to people all the time, if you have somebody that was raped or who had a family member that was murdered, or you have a family member that was beaten, or you have a family member that was drowned, or something traumatic happened to them, you will be affected by it. You will have trauma. And your parents will have trauma, and if they don't get it treated, they could pass that on to other people. Well, all of those things happen to all of us. All of our ancestors were murdered, they were raped, they were robbed from their land, they were treated, I mean, in the black community. And we haven't had group therapy. We haven't had any type of treatment for this trauma. And it's been passed on from generation to generation to generation. We have all been affected by our past and our parents' past. And we have to learn how to cope with it and how to move forward past that. And that's a part of our healing, man. We all need it.
Yes, I thank you for that. Especially going back to the ancestors and slavery because they show us what they've been through, but they don't
Yes,
help us understand that it affects us as well, where we should seek counseling and understand why we move in certain ways that we move and why this Holy Spirit, thank you. This is what I say to some people because they don't understand. They be like, well, my mama taught me how to, or my daddy taught me how to. And I tell them just because they're your mommy and daddy don't mean they taught you the correct way. And then
wow,
they be glad I love God because they be ready to knock me out. You
that's
get what I'm saying?
true.
That's profound what you just said because that comes full circle. Just because we're in a household of these parents or people that are supposed to guide us, if they didn't get the right guidance, how are they guiding you correctly?
True. So true. So true. And with all of this technology, all of this information out here, with all of the tools that we have to our disposal, we as a people, we need to, those who know, need to teach. We need to train people. We need to pass it on. And so I applaud you, sis, because what you're doing is really what needs to be done, man. And it needs to be done on a bigger scale. And so whatever we can do, man, to get this message out is so important, man. Thank
I,
you.
I appreciate that. So let me ask you this because you're a man of God now. You don't have your past. You moving
Mm,
forward. I have, because I'm a female. So how do you look at women now? Because you
mm.
told me you had like bad relationships. You mirrored them because you saw yourself. So how do you look at women now, and how do you build relationships now with women and men as brothers and business and stuff?
Yes, I totally get it. That is deep because it has changed. My opinion and taste has changed. My brother, I was telling him, I said, man, when we were younger, our picker was broke, bro. We didn't know how to pick women because we were just looking at the physical. Um, but now I believe that my standard is like a Proverbs 31 type of woman. You know, a strong mother, a strong you know, personality, a strong, support.
Hold up, Carlos. I gotta pause you because I love that you said that the Proverbs 31 woman, a strong woman, the good strong personality. But now when you listen to other social media or other people on their platform, they don't like women who have strength or women who are vocal. They say that we are masculine.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I haven't seen a movement, and I'm a son of the struggle. I studied Pan Africanism since I was a kid, and every movement that I've ever saw was ran by women. from Martin Luther King to Malcolm X to any movement, it was ran by a woman. And these weren't no soft women. See, people, they want their cake and eat it too. Most of these brothers, they really want a strong woman, but they don't want somebody to stand up to them.
Mhm.
You know, I don't mind for someone to challenge me, especially if that challenge is going to cause us to be stronger. You
Mhm.
know, some people do challenge people just for the challenge, but it's, I'm gonna say it goes both ways as well, because you got some sisters out here that don't want a man; they want to be a man. You know, and that's the difference too. You can tell the difference, like when they really, they want to have a man in their life, but they don't want to allow the man to play the role of a man in a woman's life,
Mhm.
and that's wrong too. We have to sit down, sit ourselves down as people, you know, and ask ourselves what is it that we truly want and what it is that we need, you know, and then we got to be able to look, if this is not going to fit, we have to, you know, fix it, man, because it's not working the way it is. I'm gonna be real. I listen to a lot of like this female rap out here now. It's so misogynistic. I was thinking that as a dude rapping, you know, because they're talking about like so, and it's like, what in the world? Like who? Like, I wouldn't be attracted to that woman if she. It's just the words that's coming out of her mouth. It's just so aggressive. It's too pushy. It's too mean. You know, I don't want no mean woman.
That is so funny, but that is so true. Once you start giving your life to Christ and you start peeling off the layers of your eyes, you start seeing different things. What you want to be
Mm,
around, what kind of people you desire to attract. So let me ask you this: how do you use forgiveness in your marriage? Because I have a lot of people, they tell me about their marriage. So how do you use forgiveness in your marriage?
mm. That is so important. It is so important. So important. Why is that? Because we have to understand that when you make a covenant, that's thing for life, unless you plan. And like I said, I'm a real dude. So I really took it serious when I gave my word to this woman. That means for life, unless she, you know, violates the unviolatable, you know. Uh, so when I
What's the
say that, I
what's
didn't
the
hear you.
what's the violates the unviolatable? You said what's
I
that?
would say the sanctity of her body. If
Oh,
she
okay,
has given her body to me, she don't give it to another.
okay,
Therefore, if she does that, then that means she's no longer mine.
okay.
She
Could you
took what she as a gift that she gave to me, took it back from me and gave it to someone else. That's, to me, that's unforgivable for me, because I believe that no, she's no longer mine.
Oh wow.
We share her. I can't share. I don't, you know. So, but with that, I still believe that like we as humans, we got to look at our relationships different. I can't allow the temporary thing to make a, you know, a permanent decision in my relationship. So if we are mad, and this happens every day, I get in arguments every day with my wife. You know, it's just a point of being married. You know, we might argue about, you know, who's gonna take the trash out, or anything. You know, I'm not gonna allow any of that to affect where we're going. Is that make sense? I'm saying like I'm not going to take it that serious. You
Yeah.
know, whatever she does, I want to forgive her before she does it. So
Mhm.
it's like, I'm going to give you a hard time about it because I don't want you to continue to do it. But I'm not going to take it that serious, because I know that you're not doing it to hurt me. I know that you're not doing it to spite me or to make me feel less than a man. Now, if any of that is jumping off, then we're going to have to make some changes before we get to the forgiving part. We got to make sure that you know that this ain't right.
Y'all come sit down at that table, huh? We have a
Amen. You know it.
good meeting. So, your wife, did she know you before you gave your life to Christ, or she met the new you?
You know, my wife got it lucky. She interviewed me. She was, and she gonna probably be mad that I put this out there, but she was my case manager. Coming out of jail, I was dealing with a program that was gonna help me out with rent and everything. So she was the person that was interviewing me coming out. So I was telling her all of these dreams and goals and aspirations I had, and she was like, check, check, check. This is the guy I want to marry, you know. But so she kind of got me right as soon as I came out. So that's how we met, and we started going to a lot of faith based and business functions, and I realized that she was someone that I couldn't live without. You know, I had to have her in my life. You know, she was so helpful and so considerate and integral in getting me started into where I am and I'm trying to go. You know, so she believed in me, so I believe in us.
Nice to hear because it's good to hear because some women will not take a chance on some men who have a past just like you.
Amen. That's true. And I take my hat off to her, man.
And so, how can you help women to see past the past of a man, see them as a new beginning?
You know, I believe that the rejection from women that knew my past was helpful um, in me changing. Meaning, if a man ain't changing, don't don't do it. But if he's changing, take a chance. See, because um, change is funny because when you got encouragement to change, it's a lot easier. But if you don't have anybody on your side rooting for you, praying for you, hoping for you, it's 9 times out of 10 you're gonna get stuck in where you're comfortable at instead of wanting to go where it's uncomfortable. I encourage all the sisters and any woman out here that's looking at finding a man, and see men that have been in prison as an option. Um, Look at not what the man says, but what he does. You know, see, because actions speak louder than words. Most of the people that's coming from jail, they talk real well. I mean, these brothers, man, they just sat back and rehearsed so many lines that you wouldn't even know that they're coming from, something that they've already thought about until you start hearing them repeat themselves a couple times, you know. So serious, they are good, man. And so I'm not telling them to blindly trust people, but trust me, it's a lot of brothers like me that felt like, man, wouldn't no good woman look at us twice. That wouldn't no woman give me a chance because of what I've done in my past. If you give that man a chance, that good one, trust me, that's going to encourage him to do so much better. And man, when somebody feels like they got something to prove, they go way harder than somebody who already feel like they've already arrived. So second chances is very good for people.
Wow, that's good to hear because your wife, well, not your wife at the time, knew your past because you came to her place of work.
Hmm.
It was easier. But do you feel that a man should tell a woman their past or just allow them to see them for who they are at that now?
You know, that's true too. I love that. I love, you can judge a lot from a person by how much they're willing to accept. You know, see, because you're right. That is so true. It's easy for a person to love and be loyal and be kind to a person who they feel that has it all. But what about a person who don't? You know, I like to judge a person by not how they treat the ones that's above them, but how you treat the ones that you perceive that's underneath you. You know, and yeah, like when women and especially people, when you see them like dealing with people who they feel like maybe be a step behind them or ain't on their level, how do you treat that person? Are you willing to, open up to that person, or even give that person a chance to show you that they're more than what you think? Or are you just saying, oh, I'm gonna write you off? you know so that's a good place to be, because if we all looked at it that way. I'm gonna be honest, I'm from down south, and I came back home, so it feel good to be back in the south right now. I'm sweating like, ain't nobody business. But the the difference in the South and than the North is we speak down here in the South. When you walk past people, they say, "How you doing?" They greet you. But in the North, I still speak to people because I'm from the South. But people just look at me like, I'll be like, "All right, dog. Hey, I'm just trying to speak because I was raised different." Um, the niceness, like being nice to people, being generous to people, being good to people. I believe that that's a sign of forgiveness as well, because um, have you ever had somebody get on your nerves, and then everybody to try to speak to you that day, you ain't got nothing to say to them because somebody else on your nerves?
So
Yes, I believe that.
my emotions take over. I
Hmm.
so if I can't, just because this person, irritated me, the other people that come into my space does not have anything to do with it. So that's what I
Yes.
tell myself, because the place where I work at now, I deal with so many personalities, so many people, and this person can come in my space and they meet me. You try to be polite, you try to help them the best way you can. And you could be like, "Ooh, if they don't just get on my face." And then the next person you help, I give them a clean slate. I tell people a canvas, an empty canvas. I try to give everybody an empty canvas and allow them to give them their own impression or their own pain. And that's how I'll deal with.
Yes, and that's the best way to be. And the Lord showed me that too. I ain't gonna lie, because in that experience that I had when I was actually looking for the Lord's forgiveness, I was encountered with so many different people. Like, as a job while I was in jail, they actually made me a counselor in the therapeutic community, like the TC. That's like the drug and alcohol community. And so you have to, when you're a counselor, you can't distinguish who you want to counsel. Whoever they send to you, that's who you got to counsel. you know and so I had a problem with dealing with people who did things to children. And I was like, Lord, you know me, why you sending this man to me? And he asking me to forgive him. you know and I had to.
Yeah.
I didn't want to. My flesh was saying, but the spirit was saying, what are you asking for?
Yeah.
you know
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was important, because people always say, "I can't forgive them for that. I can't forgive them for that." But who are you? You is no different than them, especially in God's eyes.
yes.
In God's eyes, we all sinners.
Yes.
Did whatever we did that we should not have done. So we are no different than them, even though we try to put sins on different levels. You know,
Yes.
like, oh, I wouldn't, but God God does not look at it the way we look at it, and we shouldn't look at it that way as well. And that
True.
is good, because that's what teaches us forgiveness. We have to, even though I like what you say, even though I will forgive them, but my yardstick will be
Hmm.
long, because they show me that they are healed from
Hmm.
that spirit or that sickness that they have. I will keep my one eye open, but because I love God so much, I want you to be healed and made whole, just as God has did for me. But I will have one eye open, and I will ask God for the most highest discernment, because I am a protector over children. And I wouldn't want me to be blindsided, because I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna forgive them because God forgive me." But I knew the steps that I had to go through to fully forgive myself and walk in wholeness. And I know that they will have to do the same as well.
That's so true because God is not a judge of a person. And like you said,
Yeah.
there's no distinguishing sin. Sin is sin. Right is right, wrong is wrong. But we tend to say, well, your sin is worse than my sin. But it's no. And man, this is such a blessing. I really, really enjoyed myself here. I did. I really enjoyed myself here because this is high level conversation. This is something that if somebody can play it over and over again, they can get jewels. They can get something that can probably help them um, deal with life, on life's terms. And I got this light behind me, and I'm hoping that it's not really blurring the whole screen. But I enjoyed this. I really did. It's really is what I look forward to doing more.
Yes, I'm glad that you accepted the invitation because you have spoke volumes and you help people understand men who
Mm,
journey into forgiveness and establish a relationship with God. Because if you don't have a relationship with God, how would you be able to forgive? How would you be able to move forward in life like you're supposed to move forward? And meet a nice woman who doesn't judge you.
yes, and that's so true.
A great
That's
supporter.
yes,
You
yes.
can be a great supporter.
Yes, and that's so true, man. What you are putting out here is water. It's water. It's living. If somebody can drink some of this, what you're giving, their quality of life will be so much better. We don't even know that we're dehydrated because a lot of the things that we can get out of life, we're denied because of our unforgiveness.
Yeah.
So, man, I applaud you against this for having me on here, man, so we can actually get to the bottom of some of this, and hopefully, the brothers and sisters out here, especially these brothers that feel like everything is lost, like because of what they did in their past, they can't have a future. Just look at me, man. Just look at me, bro. And I ain't even halfway done. I just getting started, you know. And I just want people to know that, man. Like, man, listen, it's never over until you say it's over.
Yes, because you said what, 2016?
Yes,
So
yes.
how many years is that what? I gotta count on my fingers.
About
That's
8 years, about 5 years. Well, I don't know, what is it?
15,
7 years?
19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, we're in 22, 6 years.
Yeah, 7 years. Yeah.
Oh,
You know, um, I didn't get out immediately after that. I didn't get out in 2019. Um, yeah,
wow.
so I'm now pushing 4 years. Well, 4 years. I'm on 4 years since I've been out. And yes, while I've been out, it's been just like lightning fast. Like everything in my life has been. See, because that's God.
Yeah,
When you really fully get convinced to change, he he does the rest. He does the rest. I can't tell you how I got to where I got to and how things happened the way they did in my life. I put my life in His hands, and He made it better.
yes. I like that you said that because one day I cried. I was like, Lord, why was so hard today? Why I should have been gave my life to you much sooner. Because
Mm,
the time that God visited me in the strip club, I was like,
mm,
walk out that door, but I was so me. I was just
mm,
focused on me, how to survive and how to do me and whatever. And I didn't take that opportunity to just walk out the door. But I was in
mm,
3 car accidents. And that third car
mm,
accident was like, girl, you better stop. I was like, because at that time I believed in numbers. So I was like, oh, three? Oh,
wow. Yes.
not good. So it was a wake up call. And I was like, you know what? Where's the nearest where's the nearest church? And people gotta understand, find a good Bible-based church, especially when you're a beginner, you don't know anything about Christ. You know what I'm saying? You don't know nothing. You just know it's a God and that God is the higher power. It's good to find a Bible-based church so they can direct you and teach you and grow you and mature you And then you can start, learning more on your own and start taking time outside Sunday and Monday through Saturday. Start building your relationship with Christ, and you will see how He's moving in your life, and how you say, "Thank you, God, for not giving up on me."
Yes, and me too. Me too. I really, really, I'm so appreciative of him giving me another chance, another life, because this whole life don't even resemble my old life, but I'm so glad, man, that this new opportunity, man, is better than the last one.
Yeah,
And I know it's going to keep getting better.
it is. It
Thank you,
is.
sis.
It is. It's gonna always get better, even though we see a little things, and it's just be patient. Don't allow your emotions to override what God can do. If you're in your emotions, you're in your emotions. It's okay, but find a way to get out those emotions and
Yes.
understand that just because you're like, oh, I have this anxiety, God's still moving. You be patient because God stays. God already finished the work. We are moving in a finished work. So whatever
Yes.
we are going into, we are moving in the right direction. It's just we want to jump the next level before the level that we're supposed to finish. And sometimes we
Mm.
are working on our heart, working on our mind, working on our body, how to interact with other people. And that's what have saved me was forgiving people because I was a nasty girl. You hear me?
Mm.
I was
We both, hey.
So forgiving helped me to love my parents because I feel at that time they were the issues of why I became who I am because they abandoned me. So I didn't know anything else but to survive by any means necessary. So, but I loved them and forgave them because God gave me an understanding that even though they have the title of my mom and dad, they are still human beings. And now I look at people as just human beings need to learn and need to build a relationship with God so we can become in unity. Like
Yes.
just be in unity. Everybody, like you said, you from the South, up north, they don't speak to everybody they come across
Yeah.
so they can get that same Southern mentality, they would be so on edge or so what is the word? So hard.
Tense.
Yeah.
Tense. Yeah.
And just
Yes.
embrace people because I know they say up north, you always gotta stay on your P's and Q's. You don't know who's watching you who's on your back. But
Yes.
I've noticed that when someone looking at you and you smile, it actually softened them a little bit.
It
You
does.
It taught
Yes.
them, and they start seeing God. And as us, we are people to supposed to show God through I'm gonna just say the Southern hospitality.
Yo, and that's true. And I try to do that, and I believe that like the Lord saves us for that reason. He preserves us just for that reason. I know that he does it just for that reason because honestly, since I've been home, the people that I used to run with, the new me, I thought that they was gonna just try to shun me or play me or nah, play me to the left. No, they're inspired by me. They actually see me and say, "Man, look, man, I'm so glad that somebody is brave enough to step out there and do it." Because I've been feeling that way, but now I feel more comfortable coming out because you did, and because people used to look at it as like, man, look, he was worse off than I was. So if he could do it, and so I believe that that's why we were brought, the way we were, because all of the people that knew us before, that miracle alone is enough to help them, and so we lead by example in everything we do. You said we human, and so he said, be angry but still don't sin, you
Yep,
know
true. Wow, thank you, Carlos. Thank you for
thank
dropping that
you.
we lead by the example because Jesus gave us that example and we
Yeah.
example for Jesus so they can see Jesus so we all can be on one accord. God want us to be on one accord. I appreciate your testimony. I
You as
appreciate
well.
that to see you allow me to see through your words how God is moving in your life. Keep it up because we need strong strong women out here to, you know, cover us. You know, they say we need people to cover us as women. We don't want no weak brothers. They did not get it like to Christ. You know, and some women are still, you know, falling for that. And I hope that these women can start learning themselves and learning God and say, this is not what I want. I want a strong man who can be humble because that's
Mm,
what God, you know, designed the men to do, to
yes,
humble themselves, to quiet that anger. And just use, I'm gonna just say the fruits of the Holy Spirit. If you can find a man
yes.
with the fruits of the Holy Spirit, you have a number one stunner. You hear me? So thank you for
Um,
showing us that you have the fruits of the Spirit. Thank you for showing us how you just gave your life to Christ and asked God forgiveness. So I appreciate everything you dropped on my channel. Peace Can Rise Out of Your Pain is one of my books, and that was me. I had so much pain, but I had to allow Jesus to come into my life and destroy that pain so I can forgive people. And that's my, I guess, my journey is to show people that forgiveness is a healer. So thank you, everybody. Please subscribe, like, and share.
like and
I
subscribe.
see
Yes.
you. Oh, you in my home? Well, I have people in Portsmouth, Virginia. So you
Oh,
said,
do you?
yeah, I got family in Portsmouth. So we next door. So
Yes, for sure, man. 757, man. The Tidewater area, man. Shout out to everybody down in Berkeley, down in Norfolk, man. You know, that's where I'm going to Berkeley Union. So you guys, man, you see me down there, man. Show me some love. I love you guys, man, and thank you for having me here. It was such a blessing.
you welcome. Talk to you soon.
Shalom.